Tonight, the world watches a familiar but dangerous stage light up once again, the simmering tension between the United States and Venezuela. At the center of it stands Donald Trump, issuing a blunt warning to Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, a warning that echoes far beyond Caracas and Washington and ripples through Moscow and Beijing as well. The message was simple in tone, but heavy in consequence. Do not test the United States. Do not escalate. Do not play tough. Those words, delivered with characteristic force, came as reports emerged of increased Venezuelan oil activity, strained sanctions enforcement, and growing diplomatic and economic backing from Russia and China. What may sound like routine political posturing is, in reality, a flashpoint where energy, power, and global influence collide. For years, Venezuela has been locked in economic turmoil. Sanctions, inflation, shortages, and political isolation have defined daily life for millions of its citizens. The Maduro government has survived largely through resilience, repression, and alliances with global rivals of the United States. Russia has provided strategic cooperation and financial relief. China has invested heavily, seeking long-term energy security and influence in the Western Hemisphere. Together, they represent a challenge to American dominance in a region long considered within the U.S. sphere of influence. That Trump's warning comes at a moment when oil once again dominates global strategy. With energy markets tight and geopolitical instability rising across multiple regions, Venezuelan oil has regained strategic importance. The United States wants control, leverage, and compliance. Maduro wants survival. Russia and China want opportunity. In his statement, Trump framed the issue as one of strength and order. He emphasized that the United States would not tolerate actions that undermine sanctions or threaten regional stability. He painted Maduro as reckless and accused foreign powers of exploiting Venezuela's weakness to gain a foothold close to American shores. This framing is not accidental. It speaks directly to Trump's core political identity, projecting dominance, deterrence, and a refusal to negotiate from perceived weakness. Inside Venezuela, the reaction has been mixed. State media dismissed the warning as imperial arrogance, a recycled threat from a country obsessed with control. Maduro's allies insist Venezuela has the sovereign right to trade, drill, and defend itself as it sees fit. Yet behind the rhetoric, there is concern. The Venezuelan economy remains fragile, and any escalation could trigger harsher sanctions, maritime enforcement, or even military posturing. Russia and China, meanwhile, responded with calculated restraint. Publicly, they called for dialogue and respect for sovereignty. Privately, analysts believe both nations see value in letting tensions rise just enough to distract and strain U.S. resources without tipping into open conflict. For them, Venezuela is both a partner and a chess piece. Trump's approach reflects a broader strategy. He believes pressure works, that unpredictability creates leverage, that showing force prevents war rather than invites it. Supporters argue that strong language keeps adversaries in check and reassures allies. Critics warn that it increases the risk of miscalculation, especially in a region with a long history of U.S. intervention and resentment. What makes this moment particularly volatile is the overlap of crises. Conflicts elsewhere in the world already stretch diplomatic and military attention. Energy prices affect domestic politics. Immigration pressures from Latin America remain a key issue. Venezuela sits at the intersection of all three. The warning to Maduro is therefore not just about Venezuela. It is a signal to Moscow and Beijing. It is a message to American voters. It is a reminder that Trump's foreign policy is driven by confrontation over compromise, spectacle over subtlety, and red lines drawn thick and dark. Yet history shows that Venezuela is not easily coerced. Previous sanctions and threats have failed to remove Maduro from power. Instead, they have hardened alliances and deepened suffering among ordinary citizens. Any new escalation risks repeating that pattern, raising the question of whether pressure alone can achieve political change. As night falls over Caracas, and news of the warning spreads through government offices and living rooms alike. uncertainty hangs heavy. Will this be another exchange of words that fades into diplomatic background noise, or the opening chapter of a more dangerous confrontation? For now, the world waits. Oil tankers continue to move. Diplomats exchange careful statements. Military planners quietly review contingencies. And somewhere between bravado and strategy, Donald Trump has once again placed the United States at the center of a global standoff, daring his opponents to decide how far they are willing to go. The stakes are high, the players are experienced, and the margin for error is thin. In geopolitics, warnings are never just words. They are tests. And how Venezuela, Russia, China, and the United States respond may shape the balance of power in the Americas for years to come.